Do you know the top 2 reasons that people say they don't ride a bike in cities? Number 1 is a lack of safe places, so a lack of safe bike lanes. And number 2 is they're scared of getting their bike stolen. I'm Tom, and this is Shifter, a channel about urban cycling and bike commuting. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing. So I heard that stat recently, and it was pretty amazing to me because a lot of cities are spending a lot of money, millions of dollars sometimes, on addressing the first problem by building safe bike lanes, but very few cities are really doing anything about the second problem. A few months ago, I dropped a long video about a project that is addressing it. It's called Project 5 to 9, and it's in Vancouver. It's an anti-bike theft program that's showed amazing results. Over the last 7 or 8 years, bike theft in Vancouver is down something like 42% at a time when bike theft in most other cities is going up. And I got a really interesting reaction and a ton of questions about the video. So today I thought I'd do a follow-up to that video in which I take the top 20 questions that were asked by you and pose them to one of the principal guys in the program, retired Vancouver police detective Rob Brunt. So if you're wondering about that program, you should probably go back and watch that original video, but here is a fast version of the program. Once upon a time, there was a guy named Jay Allard who worked at Microsoft. His team invented the Xbox. When he left Microsoft, his bike got stolen, and he could not believe nobody was doing anything about it. In Vancouver, there was a police detective named Rob Brunt who was on desk duty after an injury, decided to look into bike theft, and was astounded that nobody was doing anything about it. Somehow these two came together and developed a program called Project 5 to 9. The project is built around an online bike registry database called 5 to 9 Garage, but it's much more than that. It is a community-wide program that involves all kinds of initiatives from all kinds of people, bike advocates, bike shops, police, community groups, festival organizers, retail shops, and it does things like offer badges to registered bikes, safe bike parking locations, bike lock loaner programs, all kinds of things that all work together to combat bike theft, and it actually works. So that's a quick version of the program. Let's now dive into 20 questions about stopping bike theft under Project 5 to 9.
My name's Rob Brunt. Recently retired 30-year member with the Vancouver Police Department. Probably the #1 bike detective in Canada for returning bikes. And now I assist with Project 5 to 9 with digital bicycle registration and recovery. Subject matter expert for bicycle theft. Well, definitely it is a problem that people don't understand how to lock their bikes properly, but in this day and age, you think of like a thief with a grinder, your top lock that you could buy, I mean, you can cut through that in 4 minutes. And then the big gap is, for the police, you know, in Vancouver, we recover 3,000 bikes a year, but we don't know who they belong to. So that's the big gap. The police are doing the work, but we have no way of connecting that bicycle to the owner. And so those bicycles go into property offices across Canada. They're held generally for 90 days, and then they get auctioned off. It's not that the police, you know, we carried the ball to the 1-yard line and we fumbled it. So 5 to 9 is a tool that allows us to bridge that gap. I think it's not that the police don't take it seriously. Obviously there's, you know, other things we have to deal with besides just bike theft, but it's, once again, that registration side. So what the public doesn't see is all these recoveries. And they're failed recoveries in the sense that they didn't get back to the owners. So the police are out there working. You just don't get to see the, you know, we, like again, carrying that ball to the 1 yard and we fumble, well then there's no winner. You know, we've seized the bike, we've taken it from the thief, and you know, hopefully stop that person from using that bicycle to do secondary crimes. But, you know, that bike gets recovered and we don't give it back to the person, there's no story to tell. You know, it's almost an unsolved crime then, right? I get asked that question all the time. So, you know, the big thing is there's a large cost to, you know, recovering these bikes and putting them in property offices. And so, you know, we're lucky in Canada that we actually auction off the bikes. Some cities in the States, because of legal problems, they ship the bikes off to another country, or they just throw them in the garbage. So, you know, the incentive, you could say that with everything. We could, you know, we recover a car, well, there's no kickback from the car we recovered, but, you know, and most of the money the auction houses take, and then those funds go to the city. They don't go directly to the police department, they go to the city, and then the city decides what to do with that funding. Absolutely. So you think, you know, that's a big question. So you think that, like, I believe the bike path that they're building across the Granville Bridge here in the city of Vancouver, I think that's a $25 million project. So the city's paying $25 million to incentivize people to ride, because we know that the number one reason people don't ride is feeling safe on the bicycle. But the number two reason is bike theft. They're scared of getting their bikes stolen. So we can build this huge infrastructure, but if we don't take care of the crime of the theft of bicycles, we're losing riders that we would, the Stats Canada says for every 10 people that have their bike stolen, one person disengages and never rides again. So you think like in 2015 when I started working on this program, Vancouver reported bike thefts were about between 2,500 and 3,000. And so we know from the app that for every 10 people that report their bike stolen on 5 to 9, when we first started, only 3 to 4 of them were making a police report. So you now go, okay, well, Vancouver was losing 3,000 bikes a year. And if it's underreported by 5-6 times, you're talking 15,000 bikes a year. So it's a massive, and you think being kind, average bike price, $700, you're talking like a massive amount of theft. And then the other thing that I think people forget is the value of the bicycle is not indicative of the value to the owner. So maybe the police find a $300 bike, and then like $300 bike, who cares? Public sees it on the side of the road, 300 bikes, who cares? But if that's your only means of transportation, that bike's worth $300 to you, which could be $10,000 in your mind, right? So one of the things when I presented this program to the chief was, they were talking about underreporting again. So why as a cyclist would I report this to the police if I don't believe the police are capable of doing anything? So once again, it's that vicious circle. The police are recovering bikes, can't return them, so the cyclist has no faith in the police department. And when we lose faith with the public, that's when they don't do the reports. And once again, so the chief goes, well, we had 2,000 thefts this year and we recovered 2,000 bicycles. Good job, guys, right? But those 2,000 bicycles weren't the same bicycles that were stolen. It's just the recovery side, right? So I know that especially in the police down in the States right now, we have a couple of agencies where we're just starting to get on board, and their main focus of this is to build bridges with the community again. And so when I do presentations every year for grant money for Vancouver, if I always tell the police board and the staff and the chief, I go, if I could take you by the hand and bring you to a bike registration program and see the gratitude. Like there's nobody in the lineup that's grumpy or angry. They're super happy. They can't believe the police care. And we do care. And this gives us an opportunity to show we care, That the guy who developed it is the inventor of Xbox. Absolutely. So when you look at the app, it's not, and no offense to if you work in IT and government or your city IT, but we've got probably one of the top programmers in the world made an app for stolen bicycles. Like that's why it does so, it does things, when we were trying to come up with something in-house, we didn't even think, I had made a list. Jay's program does 100 things, where we were looking at 10 things. Like things we never even thought of, like, sharing the stolen pin map for if you're in the community and you want to see where bike theft is like in Vancouver, you can pull it up on the map and you can see just like the cops can. The city library, Vancouver General Hospital, Granville Island, high theft areas, right? Like things like that. So yeah, for sure, Jay's our superpower. Ooh, that's a tough one. So I think the hardest part for me is when I come to a city that they want to get on board, whether it's the police, the city, a biking group, it's bureaucracy. And so you might get the city on board, and then now the police, we have to get the police on board with the city. And so, or vice versa. But those steps take, the wheels move slowly in government, and so we're working with a city in Canada right now we've been working with them for 4 years. They've got funding, they've got the bike groups on board, the bike stores are interested, and just this slow grind of government. And but at the same time, we can go to another city and everybody's like on the same page and everybody meets at once, and within a month we're up and going. So the big difference there is, there's a lot of, say it's a police only registration system. So that system is only accessible generally to that, say it was Vancouver, so the City of Vancouver Police Department can only look at the City of Vancouver stolen bicycles. That's no good when you go across the water there to North Van, West Van. You know, if you put, say we put a shield on the bicycle that said City of Vancouver only, and it was the City of Vancouver, well, the thief's going to go, well, thanks for informing me that I don't want to sell that bicycle in Vancouver only. I can sell it in North Van, West Van, and so that Jay's system allows us to talk, and the app moves with you. So like today we were talking to people. If I take my bike now and I'm in Vancouver and I ride to Port Coquitlam 30 miles away, my bike gets stolen in Vancouver or in Port Coquitlam, I need the community in Port Coquitlam to help me immediately. And so the system allows you know, crooks don't recognize borders, so why should a bicycle registration program recognize them? Yeah, to my knowledge, and I've traveled all over the States, South, East, Northwest, Canada, the same. To my knowledge, I've never met another Brunt working on bicycle theft full-time because it's voluntary. And the information you provide to 529, there's no personal information, it's your email address. So yeah, I guess Jay could have designed it so it was like a registration system where you have to provide name, address, etc. But we felt, and you can see, you know, I've seen videos of members in city council, not Vancouver, but other cities, and where council members meant, you know, we need to stamp out bike theft and we're going to make bicycle registration mandatory. Well, you can imagine how that goes over, right? So I think, you know, we're super successful in Vancouver. Our bike theft is down 42%, and we haven't forced anybody to register. It's up to you. And even when you do register, the data is yours. You decide. Like, if you don't want the cops to help you and you just want it for insurance purposes, it's for insurance purposes. If you want the cops and the insurance people to help you, you can do that. But if you want the community involved, you can click the button and have everybody involved. So I think, you know, and we've seen, I know in Tokyo there's mandatory, I know in Netherlands it's mandatory, but their bike theft is off the Richter scale anyway. So I can't talk about the UK database because I'm not sure how it works, but like I said, the secret sauce to 529 is it allows everybody to be involved. So it's not a police, it's a police tool, but it's not only a police tool. It's a bike stores can use it. The cycling groups use it. You know, strata buildings use it for registering bikes in their strata building to help keep track. So it's not knowing what the UK has. I can say that the success of Vancouver and Project 529 is that everybody can use it. I can download the app right now. We can register a bike. You can be a bike store and register a bike. You can be the cops and register bikes. You can be a bike group and register bikes. It allows everybody to use it. And that's in my opinion, that's the strength of the program, is giving everybody the tools to fix bicycle theft. We do use bait bikes. Lots of cities use bait bikes. The problem with bait bikes is the police resources. So it's not just dropping off a bike and driving away and the bike alerts the police. There's a lot of police resources that go into doing a successful bait bike arrest. It's not as simple as, and I mean, I can't speak about how we do it, but I can tell you it's a lot of work. Problem with GPS is right now is probably the best GPS on the market right now is your iPhone, right? And you think when you do Find My Phone, the error factor on it. So I live in a townhouse complex. If I go find my phone, it'll give me maybe my neighbor's place or my neighbor's across from me. So for policing now, how do I get a warrant to come? Your Honor, I'm guessing it's maybe that house or that house or that house, right? And we don't want to live in a society where the police can just enter for any purpose. And so obviously there's a high threshold. And so that's probably the main thing. And then the other thing I think, because I see so many different companies trying to crack this nut right now with the GPS is, you know, if you have, say, like I was talking about, Bogota, Colombia has 7 million people, 2 million riders. Well, how are police resources going to track 7,000 GPS systems on a bicycle? I think eventually the tech will get there, but right now it's not. I hear that from the bike stores quite a bit. So we know from Stats Canada that probably 20% of the bike store sales are lost to the black market. on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Then the other side of that is if you come into a bike store and you're going to buy a bike and you live in Vancouver, you know that bike theft is quite a reality here, and you'll go, okay, well, I was going to buy that, let's say for example, the $5,000 bike, but I know theft is bad. I'm going to buy the $2,000 bike. And if that bike gets stolen, I'm not replacing it with a $2,000 bike. I might drop down to $1,500, and when that gets stolen, I'm reaching out. I'm going to go on Craigslist. So it really is not. It's not helpful for the bike stores think that they were going to make more money, but it really impacts their bottom dollar. I'll kind of answer that with my own question is, so bicycle is the only form of transportation that doesn't have a VIN on it. And so there's no industry standard for bicycles to have serial numbers. And so you think, as a police, if there's no car, there's no boat, there's no skidoo, there's no airplane that we don't know who the owner is because of a VIN. There's a number that means something on a bicycle. Bicycles are not that. That's the problem is, our worst bike I've ever seen, we flipped over, had 5 sets of numbers. So, I was curious to find out. So we phoned the company and they're like, we have no clue. I'm like, well, can you help narrow it down to 50%? They're like, we don't use serial numbers. Serial numbers are just used for the company that made the bicycle or manufactured the bicycle. So if we could fix that, but I was researching, it took 30 years before a motor vehicle had a VIN on it. And so they're like, okay, well, if we start now in 30 years, maybe we can get some VINs on bicycles. But that would really be a game changer. We need government to get involved and go, if you want to sell a bicycle in Canada, it should have a VIN on it. Or let's come up with a serial number system that actually means something and make it mandatory. They're actually not. If you look at Tokyo's stats, so they have the huge problem with underreporting, and then a lot of the times I've been to Tokyo, they have mandatory registration, and so what they'll do is their bike gets stolen, they'll jump on somebody else's bike, and so on paper it looks like you have no bicycle theft problem, but you have this social norm that it's okay to take the neighbor's bike. I think e-bikes gives us an opportunity to have a better locking mechanism. So you can lock out you think if you lock out a transmission on a car or a motorcycle, that bike or car is not going anywhere. And the e-bikes, I think you'll see the industry probably head towards that maybe in the next year or so. That'll be the next, better mousetrap is locking off the motor on the bike. Whether it's an app where you can just shut it off like your car, or it's a button on the bike, something to that effect. But e-bikes, given the value in that, I think you will see the industry kind of police itself a little bit and come up with a better mousetrap. They're going to have to. There's a bike in here, an electric bike that's $16,000. It's more than my motorbike. There's going to have to be something. I think, number one is generally resources. Number two, that I would say is the other common thing, is that proof of ownership. So the person didn't register the bike, they can't, it's officer, my blue bike is stolen. Well, that doesn't give us grounds. We have to work within the realms of the law. I know it's frustrating for the community to see us do that. I would say those two things: resources and proof of ownership. And right now on a Saturday, I would say in this downtown core, I'm just guessing, there's probably 30 calls holding right now for the police just in this one area. And so it makes it difficult for us to take care of some of the smaller, and when I say smaller, not to say that bike theft's not important, but you don't want me coming to look after your stolen bike when there's a stabbing down that road. So I think you can only do your best due diligence. So run the bike on, again, you can run any bicycle on 5 to 9 and see if it's stolen. You can still access the CPIC on the internet, or Canadian Police Information Computer System. So you can run it against that. And those are the two things to do. And then the other thing is if you see a $5,000 bike listed for $2,500 or $2,000, chances are you're buying a stolen bike. And again, it sucks on my part, but when you get, as the secondary owner, you come and now that bike is stolen, you have no grounds to keep that bicycle, and we just seize it from you. And that sucks on both parts, because now you're upset at us, but you got to do your try your due diligence. Just pick up the phone, talk to your mayor, city council, talk to your police department. It's super inexpensive for a city the size of Vancouver. I think it costs us $10,000 to use the system for a year. But that's we recovered a bike a couple months ago that was $16,000 used. The math is simple. We reduced bike theft last year. We know that the difference in our stolen bicycles was about $3.5 million. 10,000 bucks, that's a pretty good investment if you ask me.
So there are the 20 questions. I'm going to add a bonus 21st question that no one's really asked me, but you might, and that is, am I getting paid to promote this program because I keep talking about it? The answer to that is no, I'm not getting anything from Project 5 to 9. It's just the best program that I've seen in my research around bike theft, maybe in the world. So I just think it's a great program, and I wish more cities would adopt it. I'll also just say that this isn't just about the 5 to 9 Garage bike registry database. There are other bike registries out there that are just fine. In fact, many of them are linked together. What's different here is the comprehensiveness of the community approach to the program. That's the real power of Project 5 to 9. So this isn't just about an online registry.